Hi, thanks for joining me. Tonight I'm actually doing a beef stroganoff, and let's just look at the ingredients right here. Let's just get right to it. So I got about 1.5 pounds of stew meat here. I have salt, pepper, mushrooms of your choice. I've decided to use Crimini mushrooms. I've got onions, garlic, Dijon mustard, seasoned salt, dried thyme, beef broth, Lipton onion soup, some Marsala wine, sour cream, and this Boursin garlic and herb sour cream type of cheese. This is going to go at the end. These are all the ingredients. The description and all the ingredients will be in the description below. And when we come back, I'm going to, actually not when we come back, I'm going to do it now. I'm actually going to season the beef liberally with salt, and I'm going to use some pepper. Now right now I have the Instant Pot. I'm doing this in the Instant Pot, and I have the Instant Pot on a saute mode right now. I've got olive oil and butter into it, and I'm going to saute the meat. I'm going to brown the meat, and that's about a good amount. And so when we come back, we'll get the meat going. So see you in about 30 seconds. Okay, I'm going to sear the meat. I've seasoned it up, and I'm going to sear the meat in the Instant Pot. I may have to do this in 2 batches. I don't want to crowd it up because then you're going to be steaming, and we don't want steamed meat. So I'll do just a few more pieces, like that. So I'm going to sear this until it gets a nice browning on each side. I'm not going to really touch it, get it just placed in there. And I'm going to sear all the meat in one big, not one big batch. Stop it. Okay, I started the meat now. And as you can see, I placed maybe about a little bit of, about half, maybe a little bit less than half. I'm going to sear the meat until it's browned on all sides. This is probably going to take another batch or 2. So when the meat is all seared up, we'll come back again. Okay, let's look into the pot. I've got the remaining pieces of the stew meat. I'm going to take them out. They've done it searing. As you can see, we got a little bit of meat juice, which is going to be all good for good flavor, I mean. And the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add a few more tablespoons, like a couple, of butter. And then I'm going to add the onions in it. So here comes the butter. There comes the butter. I'm gonna let that melt. Okay, now I'm gonna get the onions in. Okay, we're gonna saute these for a second or 2. Okay. Now I'm going to throw in the mushrooms. As you can see, I threw them in. And we're going to continue to saute these for a few more minutes. We'll let them sweat. So I'm going to use just a little tiny pinch or so of salt and let the vegetables sweat out a bit. So while that's going, the next few ingredients that I'm going to add in a bit, the next will be the garlic, and then I'm going to add in the Marsala wine. A lot of recipes call for white wine. I do like Marsala wine. I think it has a little bit more of an in-depth flavor. Here comes the garlic. And you only need really about another 30 seconds for those flavors to bloom. Okay, now I'm going to put in the Marsala wine. Okay, gonna let that sit there for a minute. I'm gonna add in as well is the dried thyme and the seasoned salt. Now you might say, geez, you're putting a lot of salt in. Not really, not really. When you think about the amount of meat that's sitting in here. Okay. Now you can see I scraped up all the brown bits at the bottom, and it's important to get the brown bits scraped up because when you put the Instant Pot in pressure mode, if those brown bits were still sitting at the bottom, you may get a burnt error code, and we don't want the burnt error code. All right, so I'm going to add in the Dijon mustard. I'm going to add in the beef broth. Okay. And now I'm going to add back in the beef that I actually had sauteed and all the juices. It smells really good in here. Sure does. Yeah, Donnie's finally talking. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna let this continue to saute a bit, and it's gonna start to boil a bit. And then when we come back, we'll take it to the next step. Okay, everything's boiling up in here. Take a look. So this is really what we want to see. And now we're ready to put the lid on the pressure cooker. Now, one final note. The last 3 ingredients will be the envelope of the Lipton onion soup, the sour cream, and the Boursin cheese spread. It's a cream cheese spread with garlic and some herbs in there. So, I'm going to turn off. I'm going to cancel the saute mode. I'm going to put on the lid. I'm going to go to pressure cook, and I'm going to cook this for 30 minutes and hit start. So once the pressure cooker comes up to the pressure mode, which should take about 10 or 15 minutes, then it's going to cook for 30 minutes and it's going to naturally release in 15 minutes. And at that point, we'll come back in and put the remaining ingredients in, but we'll see you back in a bit. Okay, so the Instant Pot is done. I'm going to turn it off on cancel. I'm going to take the lid off. It already released naturally. And as you can see, everything's all done in here. So what am I going to do? And this is something I forgot to tell you originally, was to create a slurry, which is 4 tablespoons of cornstarch and 4 tablespoons of water. I'm going to put it back on the saute mode and let it start to heat up because I want to thicken the sauce. Let's bring that up. Now meanwhile, I have the egg noodles on the stove cooking. As you can see now, it's already starting to thicken up, which is great. So what I'm going to do is add in the envelope of the Lipton onion soup. Well, that's it. Stir it in. Okay. Now I'm going to add in, I'm going to add in the sour cream. Sour cream and the Boursin cheese spread. Whoop. Okay, so we're going to let all that come together. Now this is going to sit, and when we come back, we'll put it all together once the egg noodles are done. And look at that. That looks really good. Smells good. But let's come back in a few minutes once the egg noodles are done. Be back in a bit. Okay, looks like everything's done. So I'm going to go ahead. I already have my noodles on the plate. I'm going to go ahead and scoop Stroganoff. That looks good. I'm going to top it off with some chives. There we go. Okay. Let me get a fork. Here we go, the big taste test. Okay, here we go. The beef is really tender. You can really taste the Dijon mustard coming through, as well as the Marsala wine and the dried thyme. It's really good. I've done this one before. It seems to be pretty foolproof. This is really good. And all done in 30 minutes. If you like this recipe, please like and subscribe and share it. Try it. You'll love it. Very good. Okay, Tony, you can quit.